Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be making an epic Star Wars diorama. But I have a question for you. What happened to Darth Vader after the destruction of the Death Star? Well, this diorama is going to answer that. After being thrown into the darkness of space, Vader flies his ship to the planet Val, crashing through an asteroid field, managing to just land, fueled with anger and the Force. Now, building this TIE fighter was so much fun. The sprue was easy to read, the mold lines were getting removed, and the glue, oh boy was it setting. And generally, everything was going really well, which was a surprise for once. Now, we won't be needing Darth Vader for this diorama, as he is long gone. He escaped this planet years ago. And you know what? Let's delve back into that story. Now, fortunately for Vader, the planet Val is an Imperial relay outpost. And unfortunately for the relay staff, it wasn't just an asteroid that landed, but the Dark Lord himself. Upon the explosive wreckage of his ship, Vader, weary yet unyielding, finds himself suddenly pounced upon by the relentless horde of these alien predators that do look a lot like hyenas. With lightning swift ferocity, he carved his way through their leader, and at this moment he knows he is the master of only himself. And feeling something he hasn't felt for years, a rush of joy, he felt like he was truly alive. So next, the weird hyenas bring their chopped in half leader to Vader in some weird symbolic way, and Vader's just pretty chill about it. He's just like, you know, I've seen the women and children. Which of course the next day Vader has to protect his new squad from this space Tricerahippo. After a couple of anime moments, Vader rocks up to the Imperial base with his boys. He then commandeers their only spacecraft. And yeah, I think this is a pretty funny scene. So yeah, that's the weird story of what happened to Vader after the Death Star exploded. After that, he then orders some Stormtroopers to retrieve his ship. And that brings us back to the diorama, because this is the scene we are depicting. Alright, so what's happened so far? We've successfully built Darth Vader's ship, primed it with a Zenithal highlight, which means coated black with a nice spray of white on top. So what's next? We need to get some foam and get this diorama base sorted out. So to make the base, let's whack out this piece of wood onto some foam and get cutting with my trusty hot wire cutter. Now for this, I have to use all of my strength and concentration so I can make this box nice and smooth. And would you look at that? Oh, a masterpiece. So the next stage is trying to imprint what I see in my mind onto this wooden foam. I generally have a layout of how I want it to go, so let's get carving. And as you might have realised, this is taking forever! And listen to this, you can even hear my disappointment. Oh. And with that, that was the final straw. Well, a piece of foam. I scrapped the whole base of the diorama for a different project we'll do in the future, and decided to build this diorama up instead of tearing it down. So basically I did every single step I just did, but again in a much smaller bit of foam. With the layout now complete, it's time to fill it up, and for this I used some clay and some little resin rocks I have left over from my other projects. And if you actually do enjoy these type of videos, make sure to hit it with a nice cheeky like and sub, as it really does make my day. And if you want to support me further, feel free to check out being a member or a patron. Links are down below. So I successfully managed to make a little cave, as I wanted there to be a nice stream running through the wreckage of the ship. So I started building this lovely rock wall. After it was finally completed, I filled it with some smaller chunks of XPS foam so we can then flatten it out later. Now the plans are all coming together. I started to make this lovely stream with a nice fork in the middle, making sure it was deep enough to pour some resin in later. With the stream out of the way, it's time to add some depth to the diorama, with of course, clay. I flattened out all the tops and added a little mound with clay to add some visual difference. And then finally I filled in all of the gaps with the help of my little cocktail stick. And after looking at the diorama, something wasn't quite right. And it was the fact that the stream was so straight, it was like God himself made this perfect right angles, and it didn't look natural. So all I had to do was to taper the edges off. After one final pass of clay, it's so close to being done. But we just need to add these little rocks in. And here is my most secret sand formula yet. And the recipe is PVA glue and some play sand, of course. But don't be quite so disappointed yet, as I did find something interesting out. This sand was really moist. And it made a really good sand effect, as I didn't have to pour loads of layers on. Instead, the moist sand kind of added as a thick layer. So using this method, man, it saved so much time. So after one layer of wet sand and a layer of sprinkled dry sand, it finally all comes together, and I think it looks pretty good. And finally, it's painting time! So after a quick zenithal highlight, it was time to face my worst nightmare. While airbrushing, there was a huge block on my airbrush and it started to bubble and literally went everywhere. But after that was fixed, I sprayed everything in a nice sandy colour. You know, so we can turn the sand to look like sand again, of course. And finally, let's go back to Darth Vader's ship and add some battle damage. So I made some holes where the asteroids would hit. And oh boy, this spinny wire device scared me so much, as it rightfully should. But it is quite funny to watch back at my hands quickly pulling away at every chance. And there we have it, a destroyed wing. Let's add some more blaster and asteroid marks to the ship and get this bad boy finished. Now it's finally time to paint his ship. I realised that a lot of the TIE fighters weren't actually grey. They were had this blue undertone to them. So I tried my best to recreate the colour and got painting. Now, this model doesn't look that great yet, but finally, the thing that brought this model fully together was a beautiful black enamel wash. And oh boy, look how it seeps into all those crevices. I also got this all over the cockpit glass to make it look a little bit more disheveled. Then using some mineral spirits, we can remove all of the wash, leaving it just in the recesses and staining a little bit of the surface. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, this next bit was literally the bane of my life for a few days. I just couldn't figure out how to paint these decent orange rocks. So I tried my brown rock recipe from my other diorama, but it really didn't look right. So I scrapped it and went for a pure orange with a wash. I then reapplied all of the highlights and started to paint these pastel lines across the rocks. And doing this with some lighter stripes really restored my faith in this project. Okay, so I haven't done anything with water resin related in probably over a year, and I completely forgot how to do it, so I started creating a not so strong enough seal, as I found out later, and got mixing that resin. And after it had cured, it didn't look half bad. Well, yeah, it did, but we're going to add some veneer to the sides, which will clean all of this up. And let's finally paint the search party troops. These are by far the smallest minis I have ever painted, but I decided to paint them in different ranks and colours so they looked like so it looked like they grabbed every single random Stormtrooper they could. And after painting all the black parts, the shoulder pads and guns, with a quick enamel wash, they looked pretty passable. So after painting all of the little minis, it's time to stick them down, and I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out in the end. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see behind the scenes or what I'm generally up to, make sure to check my socials down below. And as always, I've been Reese, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.